Well, day one of the NFL draft is in the books for 2013, and boy, was it a doozy. Whew. We had some surprises at the top of the draft, we had surprises in the middle, and we had just a couple of shocking picks towards the end. But what I'm going to attempt to do in this video is I'm going to give you some of my winners in this draft, and I'm going to give you some of my losers in this draft. So, why don't we start this off on a positive note? We'll talk about my winners. One of my big winners on day one was the St. Louis Rams. I mean, when you trade up to get a guy like Tavon Austin, somebody that can really help out Sam Bradford, and when you lose people like Danny Amendola and you lose Brandon Gibson in free agency, and your number one returning wide receiver is Chris Givens, you really need to come away with a wide receiver. And that's exactly what they did. And I thought that this was an excellent pick. And they traded down from 22 down to 30, and they still got a guy that they wanted in Alec Ogletree. Oh, I thought that was an excellent pick as well. So, big ups to the St. Louis Rams. And I thought another team that was great, it was my team, the Minnesota Vikings. Last year they had a great draft top to bottom. You figure they had their 2 first-round picks in Matt and Khalil and Harrison Smith, who they traded back into the first round to get. Then they got Blair Walsh out of the 6th round in last year's draft, and he was probably the best kicker in the NFL last year. And this year was no different. Drafting at number 23, they had Sharif Floyd fall into their lap. I mean, by all accounts, he was slated to be a top 5 pick in this draft. He was projected to go as high as number 3. And he falls down to 23, right into the lap of the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, you can just plug him right in there next to Kevin Williams, and hell, you might have the makings of another Williams Walls, sort of, kinda. And then 2 picks later, they get arguably a guy that can be a number 1 corner for them, and Xavier Rhodes out of Florida State. I thought that was an excellent pick as well. Xavier Rhodes he was slated to go like mid-first round, and he lasted until pick 25. So I thought that was an excellent pick as well. They filled 2 needs with their 2 picks in the first round. Well, that's not all, folks, because they traded 4 picks to move back up into the late first round with the New England Patriots, and they got a wide receiver that they coveted all along in Cordarrelle Patterson. Oh man, I mean, yes, he's raw, and he only played 1 year of Division I football at Tennessee after coming out of junior college, but he can help you right away in the return game. He can be Percy Harvin's replacement there, and he's got playmaker written all over him. So big ups to the Minnesota Vikings for their first round draft. And another team I thought did very well in the first round was the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, guys, like as early as like 10 years ago, Mike Brown didn't have a freaking clue how to work the draft, but I tell you what, they've done a whole hell of a lot better in recent years. I mean, you certainly can't have enough offensive weapons. They proved it in this draft, because at number 21 they were able to get Tyler Eifert out of Notre Dame, the tight end. But you're thinking, yeah, sure, they already have Jermaine Gresham, but hell, this is a copycat league. I mean, you look at the Patriots, and you got Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez as 2 of the top tight ends in football. And hell, you can put Eifert on one side, and you can have Gresham on the other side, and you got AJ Green, and you got Mohamed Sanu, and you got the law firm in the backfield, and with Andy Dalton, you got a pretty damn good offense. I mean, this is a team that could perhaps be a dark horse Super Bowl contender, and I fully expect them to win the AFC North this year. So, okay, so that's it for my winners, and now we'll go to my losers. Okay, since I've talked about some of my winners in this day one of the NFL draft, I'm going to talk about some of my losers. And to me, there's no bigger loser in this draft than the Chicago Bears for the second year in a row on day one. Does Phil Emery even have a fucking clue how the draft works? I mean, yes, it's like seriously, they had in last year's draft they had opportunities to upgrade their offensive line and they did not do it. And so why not do it this year, huh? Really, Phil Emery, you kind of I know you kind of upgrade your offensive line in free agency, but when you have so many other needs on your offense, and hell, even on defense, you need to replace Brian Urlacher at middle linebacker. But you drafted a guard out of Oregon named Kyle Long, who started 4 fucking games at Oregon in his career. When there are so many other offensive options out there, hell, you had. If you're going to get Jay Cutler's replacement, you could have perhaps drafted Geno Smith or Ryan Nassib or somebody like that. Or if you're going to draft a tight end to go along with Martellus Bennett, you could have taken Tyler Eifert. Wide receivers, how about getting Brandon Marshall somehow? You could have drafted Cordero Patterson. You could have drafted DeAndre Hopkins out of Clemson. You could have perhaps drafted Robert Woods out of USC. Yeah, it might have been a little bit of a reach, but I'm sure he's a hell of a lot better than Alshon Jeffrey, the guy to pushing off. It's about the only way he gets open. And yeah, I just did not understand this pick by Chicago Bears. Phil Emery is living proof why some people should not be general managers. And speaking of some teams that do need a general manager, how about the Dallas Cowboys? Jerry Jones must be getting fucking senile or something, because when you have glaring needs in your secondary, like at safety, why the hell do you take a center with the 31st overall pick when you traded down from 18, and you take a guy named Travis Frederick out of Wisconsin who had like a 3rd or 4th round grade on him, and you take him number 31 overall? How fucking stupid are you? And that was just dumb. Like when you have other needs on your board and you take another center when you already had 2 centers on the roster. Man, okay. How about one more loser? How about the New York Football Jets? Okay, you let the St. Louis Rams get ahead of you. They get one spot ahead of you at number 8, and they draft Tavon Austin. How hard would it have been for the Jets to maybe pony up like a 2nd round pick or something, or maybe a 2nd and a 3rd or something to flip flop or whatever, and draft an impact player like a Tavon Austin? When Mark Sanchez has basically no weapons around him at all, and when your best wide receiver is Santonio Holmes and he's coming off an injury, and you had Dustin Keller, and he was hurt too. It's like, yeah, I get that Mark Sanchez really fucking sucks, and he does, but how about trying to help him out somehow? But instead, you take Darrelle Revis's replacement with at number 9 with D. Milliner out of Alabama. And then at number 13, you take Sheldon Richardson out of Missouri. I mean, I don't doubt that these two might be great players, but the wrong team's taking them. The New York Jets need fucking defense. They need fucking offense. And Rex Ryan is probably going to be out of a job after this year because they're gonna suck just like they did last year. Rex Ryan should have probably been fired at the end of the year. He should have been out the door like Mike fucking Tannenbaum. But anyway, that's my winners and losers from day one, and I plan to do a day 2 and day 3 winners and losers video as well. So I will see y'all later.